So tying into like the client support and I guess like setting boundaries and all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Working with people,
Mm-hmm.
coaching, personal trainer, coach, whatever kind of language you want to use.
Yeah.
Working on your own. I don't know. I've got emotional intelligence written down, but I don't know if that explains it well.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to leave a conversation at the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's like I have the hard conversation with the client because I've put my big boy pants on and it's okay if you're uncomfortable. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But then I need to not lose sleep over it. Or I've got the client that's not adherent. Because one of the big things we're getting now is working with people that are kind of stuck at that kind of like 75K. The dream for most trainers is like 100 plus.
Yeah.
So we talk about 10K months.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck at that kind of 50 to 75 and they're starting to realize that like they train a lot of people that train because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't do what they're told.
Okay.
And then they get frustrated that the client's not doing what they're told.
Mm-hmm.
So then they own that. And we sort of explain it as like, it's probably just you think you're not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking that on and then you're frustrated at them because that's a bad reflection on you.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get away from that? How do we have that conversation and be able to just leave it at the door and be able to just have dinner and not be worried that Sally's pissed off?
Yeah. So I do think it comes back to emotional intelligence. So if you think about that self-awareness, it's building the self-awareness to know that you are enough in what you're doing, but then it's the ability to self-regulate. So what external factors are you making that mean about you? So if you have a conversation with someone, again, comes back to the people-pleasing tendencies as well, is if you have a conversation with someone and you know that you're doing that in their best interest and they might not be happy about the conversation or they've reacted in a way that you weren't expecting, when you step away from that conversation, being able to actively self-reflect on that conversation, on did I do everything in my power to make sure that that was a constructive conversation? Reflecting if you maybe approach the situation not how you would have wanted to.
Yep.
Sitting in reflection and understanding, okay, how could I have done that better? And then the next time you have a conversation with someone, you will approach it in a very different way. And being able to self-regulate your emotions is, if you think about it as a coach, if you are giving someone feedback and it's a difficult conversation, you're worried about their reaction. It's uncomfortable for you. It's also uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're going into it with the approach that it's to benefit them, even how they react should not affect you when you walk away. So if you think about, okay, I had a conversation with Ben and he reacted like he couldn't believe that I was saying that thing that I said to him. And what are you making that mean about you? Are you making that mean about you that you don't know how to have difficult conversations, that you're not a good coach, that the way that you've been coaching is the reason that person had to have that conversation? Like, how are you making that mean something about you, which is actually attacking more so your ego versus the process?
Yep. So what strategies would you say to try and manage that a little bit better?
I think it just comes back to the self-reflection piece. You really need to, people tell you to self-reflect all the time and nobody does it. But you can really tell the difference from someone who is emotionally intelligent on how they support their clients. So if you work on your self-awareness, your self-regulation, also empathy, I think empathy is a skill. You need to be able to build that over time. If you work on your self-reflection, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, if you're not doing it at all, just put it in somewhere in your life.
Yeah.
But being able to really sit and learn from the lessons, understand what you're doing really well, because one of the things that we tend to do is we reflect on the things that we did poorly or that we think we could have done better.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sure there's multiple conversations that you've had with people that were difficult, but actually helped you to get them to achieve that result and left them feeling amazing.
Yep.
But instead of focusing on those conversations, you're always focusing on the difficult ones instead of being like, this is a strength of mine majority of the time.
Yeah.
This was a conversation I've never had before. What lesson can I take from that? How will I adapt it moving forward? And how can I actually approach it in a different way?
Yeah, it's so interesting. So I'm going to share what my journal prompts are at the moment because
Amazing.
they're really interesting based on what you just said. So, like, do you think it's journaling? Is that like...
I think so in my experience, if I tell people to journal, they go, "Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm not a journaler. I don't
Yeah.
like writing." You can you can self-reflect in so many different ways.
Mhm.
You could sit here and just take 10 minutes
Yeah.
and do it in your head.
Yeah.
You could sit here. Some people like to do a video diary, especially when they're going
Interesting.
through the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Because if I look at a video diary from today
Mm-hmm.
in a week's time, I'm like, oh my God, like, why was I stressing about that thing
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything right now? But I think with journaling, it allows you to explore your thoughts and emotions really clearly. It also gives you that reflection piece in a month's time of, oh, this is what I've achieved, or this is what went well, or this is what I need to learn from. When you tell people to journal, they think that they need to sit there and basically write an essay.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to write an essay. The way that I get people to start journaling, that I start coaching, that have a bit of a resistance to it, is I just want you to write one sentence.
Yeah.
One sentence about that experience, or about what you're thinking, or about what's holding you back, and just see what happens. A lot of the
It's never one
time,
sentence.
yeah.
I use that trick too.
Yeah.
Go to the gym and just do your warm up. If you still want to go home, go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just puts you in that position of, okay, I've scheduled it in. I journal in the morning, or I journal at night, whenever you want to do it. But once you put that one line down, you're like, actually, ding, 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 everything's going off in your head, and you continue to write. And then the next day you might write 3 lines. And then the next day you might write 5 pages. And you can, once you start to feel the benefit of sitting there and journaling, it's a lot easier to return to that practice.
Yeah.
So I go through phases. There's sometimes that I will journal every single day. There are some times where I'll journal once a week.
Yeah.
Or I won't journal for months.
Yeah.
But the difference between not journaling is I'm always in self-reflection.
Yeah.
I spend 5 to 10 minutes a day going through what my wins were, what my challenges were, what I need to change,
Yeah.
and how can I do things better.
Yeah.
Because being able to sit in that self-reflection is going to make me better as a human
Yeah.
for myself, for my friends, for my family, for my clients. But also it allows me to process any emotions that I might be experiencing, and also deal with any challenges, anticipate things that might come up. So when I think about making decisions, or I'm fearful, or I'm doubting myself, I'm already working through it before it's actually happened, versus waiting for it to happen and then work through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So my nighttime ones, so I'm twice a day at the moment.
Amazing.
Daily wins, growth,
Yeah.
self-compassion. So what do I need to kind of forgive for the day?
Mm-hmm.
What thought do I need to let go of? How was I a good leader?
Mm-hmm.
And then what built like a feeling of, I guess, competency?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the one that's like goes to bed and it's like, I fucked that up.
Yeah.
And that's the self-reflection ends up just a wormhole of how I fucked that up.
Mm-hmm.
So starting, I found with the wins, it's like, oh, you're not a piece of shit. You
Yeah.
did some good stuff today too. And
Mhm.
now also, yeah, this happened, but okay,
Mm-hmm.
like 'cause you can't do anything about it,
Mhm.
write about it, move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm the same with the journaling thing where it'll be like 3 months. I
Mhm.
won't even know where my journal is.
Yeah. But within those 3 months, you're not sitting there never reflecting on those things that you did, right?
It's usually just like there's nothing that's like got me pinned
Yeah.
that I'm looping on or
Mhm.
whatever. It's just like the walk in the morning's enough to be like, it was annoying, and I move on from it
Yeah.
rather than being stuck and be like, fuck, I can't break through whatever barrier is going on. That's usually when the journal comes back out.
Yeah. I think that is the same for everyone, right? When things are going right,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily sitting there and journaling about all the things that go right.
Yeah.
Our brains are wired to think negatively.
Do you think we should?
Right when we're celebrating
Yeah,
things?
it's one of the
I think
feedbacks
so.
I got back from the psych I'm working with at the moment. So
Yeah.
talking about like that, like, are you enough kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, just write down all the reasons, all the evidence you have from that day that you are.
Yeah.
That's where this kind of started. And
Mhm.
I was like, fuck, I feel like that 3 months that things are going really well,
Mm-hmm.
you should be stacking all that proof.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're more inclined to write about things that are going wrong. So if we can build a practice where we're self-reflecting, and I think some people will go one of two ways. So you'll celebrate all of the things that, like, understand the challenges and the setbacks and the lessons that you've learned,
Yeah.
but you don't actually lean into your strengths and celebrate your wins. And when we're in business, we wait until we finish the thing before we celebrate those wins along the way.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. And I think even just a daily gratitude practice.
Yeah.
Of I'm grateful for how I showed up for my clients today. I'm grateful for the lessons that I've learned. I'm grateful for insert your thing.
Yeah.
Being able to reflect on a daily basis puts you into that positive mindset. So if you're already in a positive mindset and things are going great, you're more inclined by the time things start to go a bit skew whiff or like go off track, that you're actually training your brain before you get there to think about the positive. So if something goes wrong, you might be like, yeah, but this happened. Yeah, but
I've been here before.
this happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.